Grizzly. At Grizzly, we believe charging your electric vehicle should be simple, reliable, and affordable. That's why we design, engineer, and build our chargers in Canada, ensuring top-tier quality and performance. Powered by United Chargers, every Grizzly model is crafted in-house, built to withstand extreme conditions, and tested for reliability. Recognized by leading publications for its performance and value, Grizzly delivers both durability and intelligence with heavy-duty aluminum enclosures, premium output cables, and smart charging features like scheduling, usage tracking, and OCPP compatibility with multiple charging apps. Grizzly. Simple, reliable, affordable, built for every climate, every EV, everywhere you go. Visit grizzly.com to learn more.
Hello, and welcome to the Batteries Included podcast. It's Friday, October the 31st, 2025, and this is episode number 112. On today's show, we'll be talking about Kia canceling the EV4 for the US. Slate, Toyota, and Subaru are gaining Tesla Supercharger access, and how you can use your Tesla to power up offload devices. I'm your host, Dominic Fioni, and I am joined today by the fastidious Mr. Tom Malogny, senior editor at Inside EVs and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. Kyle Connor from the Out of Spec YouTube channel should be joining us shortly. And Martin, I think, so we're a little bit late starting, so there's a whole lot going on here.
Total chaos in the Batteries Included studios. Utter chaos today.
So I believe Martin was going to join us, but he's had a time change as well. And I think that's where we went astray, trying to just figure out our times. So he's either near his home or he could be in a tent somewhere in the Midlands, but he wasn't sure it was going to rain. And so he wasn't sure exactly where he was going to be. I am in Sicily, Agrigento, Sicily. And so it was my job to set up the time properly. And I thought I had it. And I talked to Martin about it. And it looked like we had it right. But I'll take the blame for this one, Tom. I'm sorry.
So basically, both Martin and Dominic thought we were an hour behind. And I was sitting here in the studio by myself. And I'm like, I guess I'll just start the stream. But I've never done that. You guys know I don't run the stream. And Dominic and Martin doing, I wasn't even going to have the Grizzly intro or anything. Just jump on and say, hey, guys, it's just me today. Let's talk EVs. And then Kyle tried to join, seeing that there was a problem, Kyle being a great partner, but he's driving somewhere now. He tried to join in. So I tried to get him on, and I was going to be, okay, me and Kyle will do this. And then Kyle's screen, he had a bad Wi-Fi, so he was breaking off. Meanwhile, I'm messaging Dominic like, where the hell are you? And finally, Dom saw the messages and jumped in. Okay, so that's where we are now. Kyle's still going to try to join today. He has a very bad Wi-Fi connection where he is. We don't know when Martin's going to show up. I bet an hour from now. but these two guys, time is hard, I guess.
Yeah. It is time zone math, and also so I've been spending the last sort of hour. So this is my first time really trying this remotely like this, and so I have a whole different setup. I have like a little MacBook here, and my camera. I'm using the same camera as I use in Florida, but it's on I don't know. Everything's all different, and I'm using my earbuds microphones. So if there's any text to call, I also have this for a backup.
I think you should go needed, with that, but that's just me.
Right. I would if I could, but then I have to do other things with my hands, and it's hard to. Anyway. All right. So we should talk about some EV things.
Yeah, we're only 15 minutes.
You're all here for that. Right. So this week, the big story of the week, I think, just might be the delay or possible cancellation of the Kia EV4. That car will be made in both sedan, hatchback, with only the sedan is destined for the U.S. shores. So as a reminder, the Kia EV4 will sit on a 400-volt version of the eGMP platform and come with 150 kilowatt or 201 horsepower front-wheel drive configuration powered by either a 58.3 kilowatt hour or a 84 or 81.4 kilowatt hour battery. And just a couple of days ago, Kia teased the GT, the high performance version of the hatch, raising hopes for like a spicy version in the US. But that version also will offer all-wheel drive and have used like the bigger 81.4 kilowatt hour battery. So yesterday, or early this morning for me, Inside EVs broke the news that despite having a New York show auto show debut, the Kia EV4 is U.S. sales have been delayed until further notice. So the full statement reads, Kia's full range of vehicles offer meaning, value, and inspiring confidence to customers. However, as market conditions for EVs have changed, the release of the upcoming EV4 electric sedan will be delayed until further notice. So this holds out hope that it will eventually ship, but ostensibly when market conditions improve. So the market conditions are in flux like quite a bit even right now. So the EV4 was expected to start in like the mid to high 30s, and like depending on who you ask, there's a bunch of different guesses out there about that. But I believe the EV6 starts at 39, so I'm not sure how. You'd think there'd be a gap of a couple of $1,000s between that and this product, since it's a bit smaller. So it's lost, so it leaves a sedan-shaped hole in the marketplace, like in the EV. So a choice we thought we were going to have is now it looks like it won't be here for at least a while. So Tom, considering the expected slowdown in EV sales with the losses of federal incentive and the imposition of tariffs, is this like a surprise, or how likely do you think Kia will reconsider if EV sales will regain their momentum?
Yeah, I don't think it's a surprise. I would suspect some of the brands are maybe going to streamline their models for the U.S. for the next few years and not try to, maybe not have as many offerings as they were before, because they understand sales are going to be lower. That's a huge, unexpected hit, losing the federal tax credit. And when I say unexpected, I think we all expected it since last November. It's been a full year now, but these automakers make these plans. I mean, the EV4 was being developed 3 years ago, and with the full intention of having that runway of the federal tax credit, which helps to offset some of the additional costs that new technologies, and EVs are still new technology, even though we've been talking about them for a while. I mean, when you think about it, we're like 10 to 15 years into this, so it's going to take a while to normalize prices and build in volume so that it can be dollar to dollar competitive with combustion. Combustion's been being refined for 120 years, and the automakers have made an art out of cutting costs and playing supplier against supplier to drive down the cost of combustion vehicles, and they've done a great job at it. We're not there yet with EVs, and so I think it's to be expected, Dom. I wouldn't be surprised. As a matter of fact, I'm certain that we're going to hear future models from other automakers that were destined for the U.S. that aren't going to come here now, or maybe even the whole line being put off or delayed, because this is a big market, and it's no longer the biggest market anymore for vehicles, but we're still a very big, powerful, influencing market on global brands. And if they were expecting a third of a certain vehicle's sales to come from the U.S. and now that's not going to happen, that can push new models back a couple of years and say it's not too long till 2028. Things can dramatically change after that. So this isn't a surprise. No. It's unfortunate, but
Greg Kramer makes a good point. So the SK tariffs look to be reduced from 25% to 15%. So maybe that will help down the road. So this just happened. Like they had negotiated a lower overall tariff recently, but the auto tariff was still up in the air until like the 29th, which was like the day before yesterday, depending on your time zone. Yeah. So that could actually make a big difference too, right?
If it stays in 2 weeks, it could be back up to 25, or it could be 50. If somebody from South Korea airs a commercial that upsets the president, 50% tariffs, so you can't, I say it as a joke, but you can't run businesses this way. You can't product plan. You can't, in your runway, especially global automotive industry, it's different than many of the other industries. There's such long-term planning that goes into building cars. It's not like a home electronic device, a toaster or a microwave oven. It's completely different. So it's just the chaos is creating havoc. And I speak to a lot of automakers. As a matter of fact, just this week I spoke with somebody very high up in one of the major brands, and what they told me that what this is doing to their company is just putting them on their heads, and they just don't know how to deal with it. But they'll slog through it, and we'll get through it.
Right. Iron Man makes up good points here. Sedans don't really sell well in the US, hence why Ford discontinued them. So the sedan doesn't make sense. Plus, he says, it's ugly. The better looking hatch made better sense. And actually, I kind of am on his side with that. I find that like the sedan version of the EV4 is a bit, I think, challenging for American taste. And maybe it'd be like a surprise success, when it comes. Maybe it will just grab people the right way, like in person. I haven't seen it in person myself, but just looking at the pictures, I'm like, that's a bit of it seems like a bit of a tough sell. So I could see why they would. This kind of makes sense if they were going to like de-risk their American situation a little bit, because they've, so not too long ago they had a big immigration raid on the Meta factory, Hyundai, on the battery plant that makes right beside the Meta plant, and that caused like a lot of waves in South Korea, and upset a lot of the South Koreans. But still, Hyundai/Kia, recommitted to do a lot of things still in the U.S. So it didn't seem to scare them off. But cutting back on the E4, I think, is a way they can like just take out a little bit of the risk in their future, and just kind of, and like I say, I don't know that the sedan / with that styling was going to be a big sales hit anyway. So I can see why they've decided to do it like this. People are asking about the EV3 as well. I'm not sure when. Do you know off the top of your head when that's coming?
No, I don't.
No, I imagine it's. I'm thinking it's end of next year, beginning of 27, but I'm not positive.
It'll probably get kicked down the road a little bit too. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets pushed back a little bit more than originally planned.
Right.
That's just going to be the state of affairs.
Right. And so like you're saying, there's a whole lot of things going on, like with the say capriciousness of government decisions right now. An ad that the president doesn't like in this country, all of a sudden there's threats of higher tariffs or something, and then the reverse of that. All of a sudden now it's been reported this week that it's widely rumored that Canada is going to drop its 100% tariff on Chinese cars coming in, which is a big deal for Canada. But I haven't seen any solid news that that's a thing yet. So at the rumor stage, I don't know. I think there's still some negotiations to be done. And I think Canada would be wise to try to tie that with manufacturing those cars in Canada, because it's losing manufacturing in Canada from American brands. Like the Bright Drop, I believe, was made in Canada, and that whole program has been canceled, which is good for Rivian, I guess. But
Yeah, I'd love to buy one of them.
yeah,
For a great price. Yeah.
yeah. Right now might be the good time, but if
I
you're
wish I had a use
in the
for
market
one, but I don't. But the
right,
Canada thing's interesting, Dom. You bring that up. With the smoke, there's usually fire. And Canada could also be using it as just a little bit of negotiating
leverage.
too.
Mm.
Because they know that reducing that and letting Chinese automakers come to Canada would severely impact sales of American-made vehicles in Canada. So it's
Right.
we're at this point now where this is what we're doing. Where some of our best allies and longtime, the best trading partners and so forth. Now we're threatening each other with, well, I'll do this if
Right.
you do this, and it
Which
is
sucks,
it is where we is. Like I said, we'll get through it. But that would
yeah.
be, I mean, that'd be cool because then we'd have access to those cars. I could easily go up to Canada and test drive and make videos and stuff with all the latest Chinese cars. I wouldn't have to go to Europe or China to get access to them.
Right.
I'm only like 5 hours away from driving up, and actually a little bit longer than that, but depends how fast I drive. But not too far from being able to access a whole bunch of cool Chinese cars if they do bring them in there. And the thing is, they're going to eventually. We're not going to keep these Chinese cars out of markets. I know the knee-jerk reaction, the protectionism reaction from a lot of countries where, no, we can't let them in here. Our automobile industry is too valuable, and it is, but they're going to get in for sure. It's just a matter of when, and maybe buying this time is a good thing for our manufacturers to understand, because they all know it's coming. You particularly hear from Ford how concerned they are about Chinese cars, and I mean, Jim Farley talked about it. I mean, I'm sure
Right.
General Motors feels the same way, but I don't get that kind of outward admission from them. Farley got a Chinese car and drove it for a couple of weeks and said, I don't want to give this thing back. Could you imagine a CEO of a major automaker saying that about a competitor's car? I've never heard that. Maybe somebody has, and I just haven't heard it. But I never heard of like someone from Dodge saying, I drove this Chevy and I don't want to give it back. Or, someone from BMW saying, this Mercedes is better than anything we have. I've never heard anybody say that publicly, and that's a real telling sign that the companies, they understand that there's an 800-pound gorilla in the room, and if they don't get better, they'll they won't be around. But Ford seems to believe its next generation of electric vehicles, that platform that's coming out, that's going to support a couple of a bunch of EVs. It's a couple of trucks, a small truck, a big truck, and some other vehicles. That is going to be what catapults them into competing with the Chinese brands. I mean, the people that I've talked to, off the record, have basically said, like, this is our home run swing. This should bring us to where they are and exceed what they're putting out at that time. That's a lot to say, but it seems like they're very excited about that next platform. Got to deliver on it though. All looks good on paper.
So there's been a lot of people have been worried that Ford is just or other automakers who are just going to forget about EVs but that's just not going to happen. It can't. I mean, so they're going to have to. I think all the automakers are going to have to go to EV eventually, and it's hard to see like the Ford F-150 Lightning production is being deprioritized, in favor of the F-150s that actually Ford is selling right now. It sells the F-150 really well, and it's selling the hybrid. So there was a aluminum supplier fire, and so they're the F-150 Lightning is kind of on pause itself right now for production, right? And a lot of people are looking at this and Ford's going to get out of the EV game, but it's not. It can't. It's still the future. In the U.S., it's things are slowing down a little bit for now, but they will, they will have to speed back up again because, like you say too, once uh, prices for basically it's battery prices. Once battery prices on the global market come down, they're going to be cheaper than gas cars. Americans are going to buy the cheaper, and also our infrastructure is improving at a great rate, and it's just like the logical choice. People will go that way when it's affordable and when they have confidence in the infrastructure and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So yeah, the Ford products are what I'm also like really looking forward to just see what they have. I'm pretty sure, like you said, that they have they can meet the Chinese market where they're at right now, and I know they can do that with like the motors and inverters and definitely with vehicle dynamics and things. That's where North American car companies excel compared to what China's doing. Well, China is improving and catching up at a great rate, but it's just the battery technology that I worry about because China has like the 10C and 12Cs. I mean, they'll have 5-minute charging, 10 to 80%, pretty widespread. I feel in like the next 2-3 years, I think that's going to be pretty common over there. And so for us to meet that part of the challenge, technical challenge is going to be tough, I think. But
no, I agree.
Pricing can always help with that. I'll charge because most people charge at home anyway. So I can sit at a charger, 5-10 minutes longer, a couple times a year, if it means I can save $5,000 in a car.
Yeah. So I mean, we may not have that 5-minute charging, but if it's if we already are seeing now from and not the American brand. Well, yes, the American brands, Lucid, for instance, but Porsche with their lineup, incredibly fast charging, not Chinese level yet, but pretty darn close. We have a few vehicles that can add 200 miles of range in like 11 minutes, and that's for a road trip, 11 minutes you can barely stop, plug your car in, use a restroom wherever it is, come back out and unplug, and you got 200 miles of charging, which is a solid 3 hours of driving. And
Right.
I don't know what the percentage of people is that does road trips that are great that you need more than one plug stop. Because if you've a 320 mile EV, let's say you go 270 miles or 250 miles on before you plug in, you leave fully charged, that's 3 hours of driving. And now you add another 200 miles of range, you got another 3 hours of driving. How many people consistently or frequently drive more than a 6 or 7 hour road trip? I guess that's
Right.
regionally influenced, but I don't think people on the coasts that many. Of course there are, and I know we're going to get comments. I drive to Florida all the time from Maine, but I don't think there's a huge percentage of the population that do that. But then you go to, okay, charging quickly isn't just for road trips. It's
Exactly.
also for the people that can't charge at home, which is important.
Exactly.
And that's like the next segment of electric vehicle owners. We have a lot of people in EVs that have the ability to charge at home. There's not a lot out there of people that can't, that live in the apartments and so forth. And I also know that in addition to DC fast charging, we have to get on apartment level 2 charging. That has to be the next big frontier. It almost seems like DC fast charging is taken care of. We're not there yet, but with the Tesla Supercharger network now that everyone can access, with Electrify America that is improving their service, with Iona that out of the gate is doing great, and they're going to have 1,000 charging bays installed in their first year of installing charging bays. That nobody's done that in the first year, 1,000. We've got EVgo is expanding and opening up larger locations. They're no longer installing the 1 or 2 charger stalls. They're all big, multiple sites now. We've got, Walmart is still, they're talking about 30,000 charging stalls in the next 5 years. So, and I'm hoping to get a follow-up interview with them soon. Matter of fact, they've agreed to it. We just haven't agreed on a date.
The Walmart?
So, DC fast charging infrastructure, I think we're going to be okay with that. I really do. I think it's just a matter of over the course of the next 4 or 5 years. But the level 2 charging for people that live in multifamily dwellings, we're still doing such a poor job with that. That needs to get better in order for us to really see more mass adoption. And there's a lot of solutions out there right now, so it's getting better. But we're so underserved. That community is so underserved, and they could really benefit from it now that so many low-cost used EVs are coming on the market, which in many instances go to people that live in multifamily dwellings and apartments, not people that own the $2 million mansion with a 4-car garage. They're buying the used EVs, and they have nowhere to charge them. So we need to have that. That needs to be one of the next steps that we really focus on.
Yeah, those are great points. So speaking of charging, we might as well address this part of the show. Toyota BZ and BZ4X models have gained access to Tesla Supercharging network this week, along with the Subaru Solterra. I just lumped those two together since they're essentially kind of the same car, and at least technically the powertrains, and the companies are of course connected as well. That's the BZ4X and its sister, the Subaru Solterra. So this will widely expand charging locations for those owners now. They'll have to use an adapter, but it also gives confidence. And this is also, a look at. I believe when there's more choices, there's more cars we can buy in the market, then we're going to see also a rebound. A re-increase of people buying EVs. And so Toyota has this year coming up, they have the Toyota Woodland coming up with the all-electric CHR. And then later, that's been pushed back to late 2026, but the 3-row Toyota that's going to be built in the US is also coming. And then, of course, for its part, Subaru has 2 different EVs coming, the Trail Seeker and Uncharted, and all those new ones are going to have native J3400 or NACS ports as well. So to have access to the Tesla Supercharger network I feel like it's a big deal. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a huge deal for everybody. That's kind of. I mean, if we can get, some Volkswagen, Audi, and BMW on board now, we'll be okay. But yeah, it's huge. One thing I will point out, Tom, is the interesting thing about the Toyota, Subaru, as well as Nissan, and perhaps Mazda, but I haven't even looked at a Mazda charge port. They have the interesting thing, their charge port's a little bit different than all the other automakers. There is a gap in between the 2 DC charging pins. Whereas the charge port for all the other automakers, it's solid. I actually, I have it. I have something here I could show you if you want. But in between the 2 DC pins, there's a void. So if you're using a NACS adapter on any of those electric vehicles, Nissan, Toyota, Subaru, that if the adapter has the interlocking pin, that little pin that's in between the 2 DC pins to make sure you can't unplug it hot, it won't work unless you put a plug. They sell this little plastic plug that you slide in between those 2 pins. And if some chance somebody ends up out on the road and they don't have that plug, you could just stuff anything in there. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just a void, just so that the interlock will depress and allow the vehicle to charge. So that's something that's interesting on those. And all the Japanese brands must source their charging inlet from the same manufacturer because they're the only ones that have this. It's interesting. When I did my Nissan Aria, how to charge a Nissan Aria on a Tesla Supercharger video, I noted that and showed you this little, it actually, if you buy the NACS adapter through Nissan, it comes in a little plastic bag. They'll slide this in that void and just leave it there. So right. I'm sure people are going to 3D print those so you could go buy an Electron or another adapter from another brand and use it. But that's interesting that they have a different charge port. So you should note that. I have one
Right.
here. I was looking for it. The little plastic
Right.
thing. I don't know what I did with it.
But that's why we have standards, so that kind of stuff doesn't happen. So it's kind of weird that
Yeah,
we
but
went
that's
through all
just
this.
yeah. It's not.
Man.
The charge port's the same, Dom. It's just like
Right.
the plastic on the outside of it. I really thought I
Okay.
had one here. I have one here somewhere. I don't know what I did with it. So anyway, you can look at my Nissan Aria video if you're really interested in seeing what it looks like.
Right. Jeff Keenan mentions too that Rivian just got plug-in charge with EA and Iona this week, so hooray for that. And a couple people,
Yeah.
Doug Thompson and the other Doug Stevenson, are also asking about BMW access to superchargers. So with Toyota and Subaru gaining access, that's kind of like the big ones. So, but BMW, they have an agreement, right? They have the agreement to be able to use the Tesla superchargers. Are they not able to charge the Tesla superchargers now?
Who's that? You're I can hear
BMW?
you. Yeah, they just haven't finalized the compatibility testing and the app. Most of the time, it's because the automakers want full app integration into their native app, so the customer doesn't need to use a Tesla app to integrate. And then also, there's also their standards and different companies interpret the standards slightly differently sometimes. And Porsche had that issue with the Macan. Now that they have supercharger access, the Taycan has no problem charging on Tesla superchargers. The Macan has some issues. Kyle's dad, State of Charge. Outspec Dave, talked about that his Macan wasn't working, and you could plug in one Tesla supercharger, it works. You go to the next one, it doesn't work. So and then the two automakers have to get together and iron out the issues. This compatibility testing, which I talk a lot about when I go to Electrify America's Center of Excellence, when I went to Iona's Quarterback Lab. Compatibility testing. You have to constantly do this. Something that people don't really understand how much work they have to do to make it work. Everyone thinks just follow the standard. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. So, and I talked to the engineers, and they're like, "You don't understand how much work we put in to make sure." And then when we're done, we find some kind of legacy charger somewhere, like some tritium or something somewhere, and gets plugged in. It doesn't work, and we're like, back to the drawing board and making it work. So basically, what the biggest issue is, flat honest, is, and I've talked to people from many companies, especially the companies that some people are complaining about. They are pushing Tesla to work with them on getting compatibility ironed out. And Tesla basically, and I half don't blame them. I know they're a partner on this, so I'm not blaming Tesla on this. Their kind of response is, look, we're busy. We'll get to it when we get to it. And that's what they get. Like let's say a company is planning on, and almost every company that launched on the Supercharger network, right, that had access to the Supercharger network, almost every company actually launched a month or two after they fully planned to. And I've talked to these companies ahead of time. I've made videos on how to use the car. I've gotten early access. Sometimes they'll tell me, okay, May 1st, we're going live. So we need to get your video done before May 1st. I have the video done and shot April 20th, right? They end up going live August 15th. And they just keep sending me emails. You can't post a video yet. You can't post a video yet. And it's because they come up with a problem. They do all the work. And then they send all the data to Tesla. They're like, okay, here's what we're seeing. How do we correct this? And Tesla's like, yeah, we'll get back to you. And then 3 weeks later, they get a response. Oh, yeah, we looked at it. What we need to do is change this and this and blah, blah, blah. Let's do this. Okay. And they do it, and then it works, or it creates another issue. And they're, okay, that's great. We got past that. But now, if temperature's above 90 degrees, when it plugs in, the handshake doesn't communicate. It thinks it's too hot and it shuts off charging. So this has gone on with every automaker. And I understand Tesla's probably getting tired of it now because they've had to do this 15 times, and it's not just 15 times. Each automaker's cars are slightly different. Like, why does it work with the Porsche Taycan without an issue? but not on the Macan. Don't they have the same language? No, they don't. So it's crazy. But this
the
is
same platform too, right?
What's that?
Macan and Cayenne are the same platform, right? Or Macan and Taycan.
No.
Right. The Taycan's J2 and
yeah. So,
right.
But anyway, this is if you want to say how come this automaker hasn't done it yet, I mean, some of the issues is on the automaker side for sure. Like take for instance BMW. Like it seems like they're going to be last to the party, for crying out loud. You can't tell me that if they didn't push and push and push, they couldn't have been further up the line. They probably were just like, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. I don't think Tesla picked and said, okay, I'll let you go now and I'll let you go now. Maybe it was in the order that they told Tesla that they would agree to switch to NACS. I don't know. We're never going to know why they're here. I know Ford was first because Ford was the one that came out and said we're switching. So that was all part of the deal. We will be the first manufacturer to get access to the network, and Rivian was right there with them. So in any event,
I think Ford really got the ball rolling.
Yeah. So that's why I'm hearing constantly. You look at my videos; it could be about nothing to do with that auto with BMW, for instance. But there's on every one of my videos now. There's comments. Tom, please, when will BMW? I know you know people there, and it's just a matter of them ironing out the final details, guys. And I don't know when they're going to get it. And if I did know, obviously I couldn't tell you. And if I did have a date, it probably is going to be wrong. So. Why say it?
Right. So the other automaker to get access this week is Slate. So I put them on the thumbnail this week just because they've only been on the thumbnail once before and they don't have a vehicle yet that we can buy. So this is kind of interesting that I mean, it's always been presumed that Slate would have Supercharger access. I mean, they have a native NACS port. That was kind of the direction that we're going. That was the plan all along. But to give them access or declare it, they have access this early in the game, before I think the truck is supposed to come out in late 2026, or I suspect early 2027. Just the way things go, So this is I think really great for them because I mean I'm not sure how they got Tesla on board with them this early, but I think it really lends them credibility that Tesla is taking the time to work with them, and like this, lots of people still have never heard of Slate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, at this point, you have to. Every automaker, new ones.
Right.
Could you imagine, coming out in 2026 as a new brand and being on CCS? It would look like selling a car in the 80s with an 8-track in it,
Let's see. Cheddar Compow. I'm sure new class was BMW's engineering priority, and getting Tesla access for existing owners like me is way down the totem pole, sadly. There could be some truth to that, somewhat, but
they're a big company with a lot of people. I don't know necessarily if working on that took them away from the other thing. They've got a lot of employees.
They've got a lot of people.
And, they could have a small team of people that just worked on, NACS compatibility. I don't know. It wasn't a priority for sure. I don't know if that was because everything else was being pushed in front of it, but it will be. And all the cars now, all the new cars that are 2026 and on now have to have a NACS port. That was in their contracts with Tesla. And when I mean new cars, I mean new models. It's not like, Ford now has to start selling Lightning with an NACS port. No, because that's not a new model. But all of the new models from 26 on are required to have a NACS port on them. That was in the contract with Tesla to get Supercharger access. They gave everybody 2 years. They said, from the time the contract started, this all started in 24, I guess. And the 2026 new models, 2026 on, were required to have the J3400 inlet. And that's not something that's been reported that widely.
Well, you're in the know, Tom.
Well, the funny thing is, I remember about 6 or 7 months ago, one automaker saying like, oh yeah, we're required to have them in 2026. And then another automaker said it to me at some point. So I was like, well, was that something that was individually negotiated? And he's like, as far as I understand, that was one of Tesla's demands for everybody. That okay, if you're going to do this, you're going to rip the Band-Aid off in 2026. You're not going to still be producing new cars in 2028, 2029 with CCS. We have to make this happen as quickly as possible. We'll let you keep your existing models because they know the cost to retrofit to do that. And I know people seem to think it's not a lot. It's very expensive to change that whole charging system on a current vehicle. And beside that, the manufacturers have supplier contracts. All the manufacturers, have like guaranteed contracts for 20,000 CCS inlets with a company that makes that for them. So they can't just say, okay, we don't need that anymore. We're switching over. So there's a number of reasons why they're not transitioning all their existing cars to the NACS, why the OEMs aren't doing that.
Videos by Stofferson 3945 says CCS offer faster charging at many stations. Tesla just offers more stations at this time. True, and also all the other networks are also switching over or adding NACS connectors to their machines. But I did have as a question for you, Tom, with the continuing expansion of Electrify America, IONNA, the emergence of the Walmart network, is the Tesla Supercharger network still as important to non-Tesla drivers as it was like when it first started up? Which
today for sure.
Right.
Today, yeah. I mean, the number of NACS ports out there, Dom, non-Tesla NACS ports in this country, I wouldn't even begin to guess how many. Less than a couple hundred, in the whole country. IONNA only has currently 32 sites open with probably 4 ports per site. So they're at like 120, 140 sites. How many does Walmart have open? Electrify America has 2 sites that they're testing with the NACS. I don't know how many sites EVgo has with NACS. So, I mean, we're talking under 400 sites nationwide that are non-Tesla. Will that flip 5 years from now when, there's 20, 30,000 ports out there that are NACS? Yeah, of course. But for now, people are gravitating towards Teslas. And I know there was a comment there that that you still have it up there, videos by Offerson. That's true for some vehicles, but I don't think for the majority of vehicles. For the majority of EVs that are on the road today, it won't make a difference if you charge at a supercharger or at a 350 or 400 kilowatt CCS station. Your car isn't capable of pulling a sustained 250 kilowatts or for a while. Now for the 800 volt system vehicles, that's true. But for many, like for me, I pull up with my Lightning. It doesn't make a difference if I'm at a Tesla supercharger, an IONNA station, an EVgo station, whatever. It's going to get the same results. And there's a lot of vehicles out there that fall into that category where being at a Tesla supercharger is going to charge just as fast as a 400 kilowatt charger.
Right, and the other thing is that, of course, there's so many vehicles, like we were just saying, in 2026 coming with native NACS ports. It just makes going to Tesla superchargers like super easy. No adapter, no nothing, no thinking about that part of it. At least just plug it in, and it's all happening. Well, I mean, IONNA is going to have that as well. So every IONNA station has either, right?
Yeah. So it's funny, Tesla, John. Tom, remember in the 80s when air conditioners were an option in cars? I'll give it one better. I remember when seatbelts were an option. So, I mean, I didn't have a driver's license when they were selling them,
right,
but they were still on the
right.
road that I could buy used for sure. So yeah,
I'm old enough to. Actually, I think I'm a little older than you, Tom. So I do remember like there was a big controversy about, because people hated the idea of being
hated it.
forced to wear
The government
seatbelts.
was making us wear these seatbelts.
Oh,
And then remember,
what do you
it
want
was
to
so
save my
bad.
life?
Nobody was using it, and I admit I was one of those people. I wouldn't use a seatbelt. And then remember, some of the cars had the automatic seatbelts. You sat in it, and it came around and automatically locked you in because they knew people were refusing to use them, and they'd always get jammed in the track and everything. Yeah, so we've come a long way, but.
Yeah, I think my dad was one of those who also didn't like the seatbelt. Actually, he drove taxi all the time, so he was in and out helping people with stuff in and out of the cars all the time. So
it's funny, we could relate that to what's going on now too with people, the anti-EV crowd, and some of the people saying government's forcing them on us. We don't like to be told what to do. Was the whole thing about the seatbelt thing. It wasn't that they were really uncomfortable, or there was no real reason not to click the belt and put it on because it could potentially save your life. But government was telling me I had to do it, so I didn't want to do it. So it's kind of like that's the argument that a lot of people make with EVs today. Oh, they're forcing them on us. They're making us drive them. Which a lot of that really isn't true, but you certainly have that perception when you hear about certain states saying we're going to ban combustion in 2035 or things like that. So, people get that knee-jerk reaction. Oh, they're forcing them on us. But it was like that with the seatbelts. They were forcing us to wear seatbelts.
True. Oh, thank you, Pete Breen. Thanks, guys. Have a tariff coffee on us. Yeah, coffee is getting expensive in the States, man.
No.
I'm
drinking a cup from coffee that I brought back from South Africa.
Nice. I had Ely coffee this morning, which you can get in the U.S. and it's a bit expensive, but it's like I think it's an Italian brand. There's an Ely kind of linked cafe just outside my door, basically, which is great coffee. Yeah.
So what do we got up next?
Oh, well, I was going to mention that so just talking about Slate real quick, because other little bit of Slate news that helps, as well as being able to charge at Tesla Superchargers to give confidence in what they're doing over there. They had an announcement yesterday as well that they've engaged national network of service centers for accessory installation and service powered by RepairPal, which I'd never heard of before. So I guess this is just how they're going to approach just getting service, I guess, and also the Slate is like a blank slate. It comes and you add on all the accessories, and some of those a lot of people will want to add on themselves, and some people would just prefer to have somebody take care of all that stuff for them because like a big camper back or like to turn it from a pickup to an SUV. There's a whole section that maybe people want to have somebody else deal with all that kind of stuff and just write the check.
Of course, so there's a lot of people that aren't very handy. I mean, I have friends that struggle putting in a light bulb, so they're not going to put they're not going to convert their Slate truck into an SUV, even though it's probably just bolt on. It's super easy, but some people just they have different skill set, and that's not them putting things together. So. It makes sense that they'd have a partner, Dom, to do this, and they needed a service partner anyway. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems that the startups have that don't have dealerships. Is how are we going to service this thing? And I mean, I've had Rivians now for 4 years, I guess, right? 3 and a half years between my R1T and my R1S. Admittedly, and I've had a couple little nagging issues with both vehicles. Which they fixed. They've done the in-person service in my driveway a few times, but once or twice I had to go to their service center, and it's been inconvenient. One time I had to drive to Brooklyn, which is a pain to get to. The other time, an hour away in upstate New York. Luckily now they're opening up a Rivian service center in Morris Plains, which is like 12 miles from my house. So that's going to be really convenient, but that's an issue. And Rivian's 4 years into this now. And they're just getting service centers, going in places. So Slate was going to have this issue, and they had to figure out a service partner like this.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that since we were talking about Slate getting Supercharger access, and it's I always have I just have doubts about Slate, being successful over the long term, but it really does look like they're going to be, pumping out the cars in late end of next year, and early 27. So it just all this kind of stuff just gives more confidence that they are a going concern, as we used to say, like they will be, a functioning company in the future, and yeah. I'm waiting to see how their value proposition turns, compares with what Ford is coming up with. But those are both unknowns, right? Because things get pushed back, and Slate is still like a new company without any product available yet. So that's all up in the air. So Tom, you had a video this week that we wanted to talk about for sure. I was hoping that we are going to spend, in my mind, I thought this episode was going to be all about the Japan Mobility Show that was just happening this week. I tuned in and I got ready to write up all these stories about, Toyota and Honda and Mitsubishi and everybody. And there's just, for the US market, there's not really a whole lot out there. They got some, Honda had a couple cool debuts, but not for here. I don't know. I saw the Corolla concept, which is a concept also. But it does look like that Toyota will have an electric Corolla, which is kind of a big deal. But still, there's not really anything in the way of details to talk about that. Yeah, Honda did show off like the Zero series. So they have the Zero SUV and then the Zero kind of sedan. And then they introduced the Alpha, which is like smaller SUV-ish kind of thing. It's not jacked up in the air. It's got kind of small tires and it's like a huge gap. It's an odd looking thing. Maybe I'll pop up a picture later on or something. But yeah, not a lot there. But you had an interesting video this week about how people can use their Tesla batteries to use your Tesla battery to power like V2L. So I don't. So
yeah.
So tell us about this thing, and I'll see if I can pull up the video.
Yeah. So there's it's called an electric vehicle discharge device. Well, that's what the company's selling it, called Roam Energy. And you may have seen online a few other models that look exactly like it. That's because they were exactly like it. And early on, the factory that makes these was selling them to multiple companies.
Power external devices.
But now Roam Energy has the exclusive rights to the U.S., so the other companies aren't selling them in here anymore. So a few months ago, there were a couple people that got them and they made some videos about them. But now Roam Energy is like the company if you want to get it. You plug it in to your Tesla. Now it has to be a Tesla that speaks a CCS language. So the 21 and ons, and if you also put the CCS retrofit kit on your older Tesla, it'll work on that. And it can put out 3,500 watts, which is 3.5 kilowatts. It tricks the car into thinking it's DC fast charging. As soon as you plug it in, the thermal management system kicks on because it's like, oh wow, I need to prepare for DC fast charging, and so the car actually thinks it's charging. The display screen in the car says charging, but it doesn't give you the kilowatt draw, because it would be a draw, not adding. So the car's like, okay, what's going on here? But it basically pulls energy from the car. And allows you to use it to charge up to power things up to 3,500 watts. And, I've used it a bunch of times. It worked every time. There's been really no software glitches or anything with it. And you could power a lot of things with it. During a power outage, you could power like your refrigerator in your house and some other things. So, 3,500 watts isn't a tremendous amount. The company's working on a 7,000 watt, a 7 kilowatt model that also has a 240 volt plug. This has two 120 volt plugs. So the next version is going to have a 240 volt plug and be able to draw 7 kilowatt. Now you're talking, because now you could put a disconnect
microwave
transfer switch from your house and power your whole house with it. But it's good for like taking it camping and to tailgating, things like that. You can I used it to power a Keurig coffee maker, electric pizza oven, an electric heater, and those were high drawing electrical devices. All three of them draw more than a kilowatt. Some of them 1,500 watts was the lighter, I think. And it worked fine. It's expensive. That's the problem.
All right. There's some great specs of it. 3,500 watts. That's like it's very useful. 3,500 watt light bulbs, that's a lot of power.
Yeah. And there's they're giving a huge coupon discount if you use Tom 300, $300 off. So that's a lot off. So now it takes it down to $1,000, which is still expensive. I could see these things selling like hotcakes if they were $5.99 or something like that. It's still very expensive. So it's not something that I think people would buy that don't have a specific use for it. I think the people that would buy this, and a lot of people are ordering them with this coupon because they get access to see how many people purchased it with my coupon code. They're actually selling a bunch of them off this video. The people, if you have a specific need for this, then you're in line for it. But if you're just like, oh, that would be cool, maybe I could use it sometime, you're not spending $1,000 for it. But there's a lot of people and I got messages and stuff. People say, oh, I wish I had this a month ago. We went camping and, or whatever, and this would have been awesome. So if you want to get it, you want to get it. If you're on the fence, like, maybe I could use that, you probably aren't going to buy it because you probably aren't going to spend $1,000 for it. But the people that know they need it will probably order one. So.
Right. And I think there's a lot of fairly affluent, Tesla owners who $1,000 is not that big a deal for them, really,
Yeah.
And just to have that extra, just flexibility and the option to do something cool, and maybe they have the lifestyle where they have more free time too to go camping and do things. So yeah, it's pretty nifty. Somebody was saying though, someone just mentioned, what if Tesla doesn't like this idea so much? Could they? EVKX asks, what if Tesla comes up with an upgrade to prevent this to work? Is that a possibility?
So here, number one, they already have over 20,000 of these in use for over the last year and a half. Not in the U.S. Wow. It's coming to the U.S. for the first time, but this has been sold specifically for Tesla vehicles in Europe and select markets in Europe and in China for a year and a half now, with over 20,000 units out there. And Tesla hasn't done anything yet. That doesn't mean they couldn't. It's possible that a software update that wasn't even intended on making this not work could make it not work. Just so we know how software is tricky. So in that case, they give you number one, this stick here with a micro SD card that you plug in, and you would turn it on and it doesn't work, and then you put it in your computer, you send it to the company and say, this is what the unit read, why it's not working, and they can diagnose why it didn't work. And then there's a Ethernet cable plug on the back of it. You'd plug it in and plug it into your router, and the company would update the software so that they can't do over-the-air updates, but there's a port in the back to plug in, and the company updates it and it makes it work again. They said, if this happens, we can almost certainly correct it. No matter what they change on the software, we can bypass that. Tesla has not come out and said that you shouldn't use this. A lot of people said, oh, it's going to void your warranty. There's a lot of consumer protection. There's consumer protection laws that prevent, the manufacturer from just blanketing saying, oh, if you do this, we're going to void your warranty. They have to prove that whatever you did is what was the cause of damaging the battery. And this just draws energy from the battery. It you know, it really, it's like an accessory. So it shouldn't, you know, I'm not the engineer that designed it, but it really shouldn't have any issue. You can charge, if you're watching on YouTube now, you see I'm charging my Rivian with it. You could use it if it's in your trunk and another EV owner is on the side of the road and you know, it just happened to run out, which really doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. You can charge another EV with it. You know, you could use it for a number of things.
I just got I just got a text from Martin. So
yeah,
just for people were asking earlier, he said, hope all is well. Thank you. Kyle just said he's around, so I'll ping him a link. I'm stuck in traffic because of a road closure. Diversion is huge. Going to be about 30 minutes late. But hopefully you'll have Kyle too. So that's 3. And yeah. So if we're going to go,
thinks the time.
Right. So normally with the time mistake we made, he would be probably joining us right now, but he's in a traffic jam and probably not going to make it, but that's okay. Hopefully we'll see him next week. I miss him. It's been a couple of weeks for me since I've seen all of you guys. I saw you briefly last week, but it's not quite not the same, you know, going with a week without seeing y'all. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. What else? So the Cybertruck, does it have V2L or not? No, it just has the power to home.
No, you wouldn't need this for the Cybertruck. You know, like my Lightning, it's got 240 volt outlets and you know, 120 volt outlets just to, you know, you could charge another vehicle with a Lightning or with a Cybertruck ready. You wouldn't need this for the Cybertruck or for the new Model Y Performance. The new Model Y Performance has, and I didn't read up completely on it. I just saw that it does have vehicle to load. And question here, John. Tom, can you hook that to a transfer switch? Yes, you could, John. You know, it's only 3.5 kilowatt, but the next version is 7 kilowatt. And then now you're talking. With 7 kilowatt, you can most likely run your house if you don't have any really big loads going on. You could probably run the whole house, depending on how big your house is.
You want to take off some of the big loads and maybe not use.
Yeah, but
the microwave if you have a lot of hair dryers or things like that pop 1,000 watts like that, you know.
But you could use it to keep your refrigerator going and have lights on in the house during a power outage. Yes, you could use it for that. So,
right. The electric duo is up there. Hi guys.
Yeah.
They say, I know people who car camp in their Y and they love this, but the price is a barrier. $1,000 can be a lot for sure.
It is tough. Yeah, agreed.
And speaking of price, somebody was asking about the price of the 7,000 kilowatt. I doubt it would double the price, right? But it's going to be more.
Yeah, I don't really want to speculate. Right. They didn't give me any any idea about that.
Sure. Yeah, William's saying we did do a live show with all 4 of you guys. Yes.
Sorry.
Sounds like that's the John has used this kind of thing for pizza as you do, Tom.
Yeah.
Which
I had to make a pizza with it, and it's funny. Everyone's killing me about that pizza. So you know, you guys know I have this small pizza oven from the Columbia Inn. And they make all these different kinds of pizzas, and they know me. And whenever I go there, they're like, "Here, try this new pizza." And the last time we went, they gave me a shrimp scampi pizza. Now I don't like shrimp. My wife loves it though. But yeah, and it was the only one in my freezer, so I had to use that one. And you don't see me eating it on camera. And so many people were like, Tom, you just ruined this whole video by putting shrimp on a pizza. What's wrong with you? There must be 20 comments about the shrimp on the pizza in that video. It's funny. That was the only one that I had. But it actually, my wife loves it. And but evidently that wasn't a big, that wasn't something that people appreciated seeing, shrimp on a pizza.
That sounds more controversial than
it's good on pizza. I don't like shrimp.
It sounds more controversial than pineapple, say.
Yeah.
Being from Canada originally, pineapple on pizza was a thing, growing up, and I love it. But here, so I'm in, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm in Agrigento in Sicily. I've just had my second Italian pizza ever. Oh my God. So this one, and I've ordered the same one both times, kind of by mistake, because I saw eggplant, and I love eggplant. So I was like, yes, this one. But there's also like a egg on it. There's like egg whites, and there's like yolk in there, and just a little bit. It's not what I'm used to in North America, but also so good, Tom. Oh my God. You've probably had pizza in Italy before, I guess, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different too. The crust is different, and there's definite differences.
I'm loving it. I'm just gonna say that's just the end to the pizza talk or whatever, but yeah. I can't believe I didn't come here like a long time ago. I'm such an idiot. All right. Anything else we need to talk about today? Actually, we don't need to go we're over an hour. Anything else that we need to talk about for sure? News-wise, I think that's basically all I really have here. I mean, it's been kind of a slowish news week for US. We focus on US product and services, things in the US, right? So, somebody's asked me what the EV scene is like here in Sicily. Well, it's been interesting. I saw my first Citroen electric, I think a C3. They make different versions of that, but there's not a lot. Like I was saying with somebody on social media, in southern Italy, the Felix, electric Felix, who does all the charging videos around Europe, he was saying that southern Italy, not only are there Italy is already like a low adopting country in Europe. Like a lot of other countries have a lot higher adoption rates of EVs, and so Italy is already low. And then southern Sicily, like below Rome, not only are there not that many EVs, but there are not that many newer. There's a lot of old cars on the road. Like I can't tell you how many little Fiats from the 80s I've seen here. It's kind of nuts, really. But that's more in the countryside. In Sicily, the cars are newer a bit, and there's a few more electrics. There's a Volvo EX30 parked on the street just outside here. I also saw, I don't know if you ever heard of this brand, Tom, but stop this. There's a brand called AIXAM out of France, and they make little cars, and some of the versions you don't need to have a license because they're kind of slow and everything. So I saw one of those parked. I didn't get a chance to get over and check it out. I assume it was electric. Well, and I saw this crazy minibus. So they have like this hop on, hop off bus situation here in Sicily. But this bus, it had to be like maybe the length of a car and almost narrower. It was like this weirdest thing. And I didn't get my phone out until it was already by me, because I realized I saw it coming, and it never struck me that it was going to be electric. But it was. It was like this mini bus that you can hop on. Maybe it's got like 5 or 6 seats. It's got a high roof. It's the oddest looking thing. I'll see if I can track one down so I can make a video, or maybe share it with y'all next week. But so EV adoption here is slow, but I have seen a few. I saw a BYD came up behind me the other day in the alley. What was that other car? I saw something else. I had just taken a picture of this nice EV, and then the BYD came up behind me because it was on a narrow street. I didn't really expect even to be cars on that street. It's seemed like a pedestrian street, but then even like little side streets that are even smaller. There's like cars going up these like tiny streets. Like it's kind of wild, actually. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the EV scene here is a lot of EVs that we don't see in the US. But I would say, and I haven't seen any Teslas here, actually. Come to think of it, I'd see more EVs in the United States. I think the adoption rate here is like 5-6%, and in the States we're at around 10ish, right? So yeah, that's kind of how it looks. I'm not sure why there's no Teslas here. I need to go looking for one right after this podcast.
So some people, before we cut out, some people are asking about my Lightning get together last week.
Right.
So I don't know if you have time, Dom, but over on I sent you links to a couple videos just now, really short video clips. So yeah, I had an annual Lightning get together last Saturday, and we did it at a farm this year. We've been doing it at my house every year. This is something that's co-hosted by me and Ford, and but this year we did it at a farm. Ford was worried about the amount of trucks that we might get coming to my house, because the first year we had like 20 trucks, something like that, 18, 20. Last year we had like 38 trucks show up at my house, and we had to park them all over the lawn and everything. And they were worried this year there was going to be too many. So we decided to have it at a local farm by my house. This is Allsteed's Farms, very big farm. They could host thousands of people. And on the weekends in the fall, they have thousands of people show up. So we did a Frunker treat where Ford hosted this. We notified, we had a bunch of Lightning show up. Wasn't as many as I had hoped. We only had about, I think, 24 or something like that. But we only gave people like 8 days notice. And that was, Ford was securing the location, and then it was getting later in the year, and I was traveling for a few weeks, so I couldn't do it earlier. So next year, we're going to do it at the same place, but we're going to start advertising it in September for like an early October get together. And it was Frunker treat. So we all opened our Frunks. Ford brought a ton of candy. People brought decorations and decorated their Frunks. And it was a lot of fun. Joe Scholes was the founder of the Lightning Club. That right there, this is great. That's the Lightning STX. And that's the first public appearance of the STX. But I have to, there's a caveat here. It's not completely production. Ford actually doesn't even have one. They only have a couple of these, and they're not 100% production. There's certain things on them that might not make it to production. The grill, for instance, is going to be a little different on the front. It is going to have that blue stripe. It is going to say Lightning STX here, which you can cancel it. You can order the truck and say, I don't want the big stickers. There's also a big sticker on the hood that says STX. This is replacing the XLT. But the wheels and the running board are standard, and that's a Raptor running board that's going to come on it, which is really cool. I was like, oh, I might just order one of these and swap it, because it will fit on previous year Lightnings. So it was cool that Ford brought that, and they drove it here from Detroit, and we had a good day. It was a fun day. You could see the Frunk decorated, and a lot of us did that on our Frunks, and a lot of kids that came to the farm just to come to the farm that day walked over and got candy and everything. Ford brought a ton of candy, so it was a fun day. I think this video kind of shows most of the trucks. That's my truck there with the teeth, right. This was as we were setting up. I brought this thing there, but it was a good day. It was a fun day. Ford, I got to give Ford credit. They come out and they send people. They had an engineer on site to answer any questions, and they interact with people, and they make an effort to do these grassroots events, and it's appreciated.
Yeah, they do great. Like, I don't know if you call this marketing, but they do great events like this with owners. What I'm wondering is how their marketing budgets are compared to for the electric versions of the F-150 Lightning to the F-150, because I just think this is like the best version of it, really, for most people, who don't need necessarily have to tow like huge distances. Like, this is the F-150 to get, really, for a number of reasons.
So many of the owners say that, and people that they're like, this is my 5th F-150, it's my favorite one, but that said, there are use cases where it's not the right choice for you.
Sure.
But there's no one tool fits all, you know what I mean? They use the right tool for the job, so I think too many people look at the few things it can't do well and say, oh, I wouldn't want that, but there's a lot of education. The education hurdle we need to get over, Dom, is strong.
Right. So I don't see a lot of television. I don't see a lot of, like, just in general. I don't see a lot of marketing, television commercials, billboards for any sort of trucks really to an extent. But yeah, so I'm just wondering what the ratio of how much effort
Well, I mean,
are they putting into selling them? Like I know they want to sell them.
Yeah.
Obviously you want to sell the thing, right? Because
Yeah.
they've had to back down their production estimates at different times, and I'm sure they didn't want. That's not something they'd want to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something I've been thinking about this week a little bit.
Yeah, well, Dom, we all know that the electric divisions on pretty much all, if not most of the manufacturers, they're not profitable yet. Tremendous amount
Sure.
of investment goes into developing these new vehicles, and they're not selling at scale to really be profitable. So then you say, well, how much money are we going to pour into, advertising these that, is it going to really work? It's almost like the people that want them know they want them and they get them, but the other people still need to be convinced. And I don't know if a commercial is going to convince them. I think it's,
Sure.
It's getting better education at the dealership level, to me, is what would make the biggest impact, not necessarily a commercial, advertising. I think pour that money into dealership education,
Right. That's a great point, Tom. Thanks. Something I was thinking about this week, and I'm like frustrated because like I said, I think they've got a great product here, and it's just like a shame that it would just fit into so many people's lives so much better than their regular one. And
Yeah. No, I know. And a lot of people now think the Lightning's finished. It's not.
Right.
But there was a lot of news articles that, there was one really incorrect one that said, Ford cancels Lightning, they end production.
Right.
And,
Right.
It's hard to undo that. I had a lot of people contact me, even when I was posting at the event live, like on Twitter and so forth. Like, we're here. I had comments saying like, "Oh, that's great. Haven't you read the news? The Lightning's canceled now." And I'm like, "Oh no, it's not canceled."
Right.
They shut off. They stopped production for a little while. Is it good? No, it's not good. But it's really because of the aluminum factory in New York that burned down. They have less aluminum available now. And hey, if I'm making the decisions at Ford, I'd probably make the same decision too. Continue pumping out Lightning that are sitting on dealers' lots and aren't selling at a high rate, especially now. This fourth quarter is going to be a bloodbath for all the EV manufacturers, because everybody that wanted an EV, that was even thinking about an EV, rushed and bought it before September 30th. So this next quarter is going to be brutal across the board for electric vehicles, I believe.
Sure.
And so it was almost a perfect layup for Ford to say, you know what? We don't need to make any more Lightning right now. We've got a few thousand of them out there produced on lots and everything. Let's take the aluminum that we have and use it to make the trucks that are still selling like hotcakes, and we don't have enough. We can't make enough of them. So it makes sense to pause Lightning production, sell down your existing inventory, and then towards the end of this year, reevaluate and say, okay, where do we think Lightning production sales are going to be at? Because obviously it's going to be less, and there's no way around it. And it's interesting to me though that Ford and GM were both going to continue with like a extended $7,500 tax credit. That they were going to kind of
right.
You know what I mean, and extend. And both companies received severe pressure from the administration not to do that, and and because they really want to see the electric vehicle sales just get crippled because of this, and that's
which makes no sense.
It makes no sense, but they literally were kind of bullied into saying, no, you're not going to do this. You're not going to continue to give customers discounts on EVs. I'm sure government's been involved in influencing business all along, and behind the scenes here and there, but I don't know to this extent.
But generally, government tries to help businesses sell. I mean, businesses come up with the ideas of what they want to sell, and then the government kind of comes up helps them do that. You don't usually have government saying you shouldn't sell this product anymore because for reasons which I don't. Yeah, I don't.
If they want to sell them at a loss, let them sell them at a loss.
I mean,
but to actually bullet them and say, no, you're not going to give discounts on these vehicles. Like, that it's going to look very, if you want any kind of relief with these tariffs that are hurting your company, you're going to listen, you're going to do what we say with these vehicles. So it's crazy, but it's happening.
I found that post that I mentioned, and the electric duo who are here with us here in the comments, of course. They said, a statement from Ford, right now we're focused on producing F-150 ICE and hybrid as we recover from the fire at Novelis. We have good inventories of the F-150 Lightning, and we'll bring Rouge Electric Vehicle Center, where they make them, back up at the right time, but we don't have an exact date at this time. Yeah, and so I saw that. Then I saw that article that you had mentioned. Won't say what outlet put that out there, but I just felt compelled to reinforce that messaging that it's coming back. As the STX, it's the thing is coming. Not to worry. Optics are terrible, but
it's like I said. Bloodbath is a great term. It's going to be a bloodbath for the next foreseeable future. Really, this quarter is going to be brutal. EV sales are just going to tank, in Q4 because everybody, so many people that I know that were even thinking about an EV said, you know what, I'm going to pull the trigger and went and bought one. So, Q4 is going to be terrible. We'll reevaluate things once 2026 comes around. So, because people need cars, and if you want an EV, if you can afford it, you're still going to get it. But if you wanted or needed a car now, and you wanted an EV, you went and you bought that thing in Q3. So
sure. Oh yeah. So that definitely pulls the demand forward. But still, like in a new year, states still have incentive. Some states still have good incentive programs. They're also getting not somewhat cheaper. I mean, automakers are trying to sell them. They need to get them out there because they see. This future and scale makes everything cheaper. The more they can sell, the less money. Even if they're losing a bit of money, and some automakers are making money on their EVs. But it's like you say, it's going to be a bloodbath, and we'll see how it looks in the new year because that's going to be interesting. How actually, I feel like it's going to be a real good test of the market. For no federal incentive, some local incentives, and just see. It would just be nice if the gasoline wasn't, or oil in general wasn't subsidized. It would make things so much easier.
And it's so funny how people get so upset about subsidizing EVs, and that money's going to like us, like to the people. But with the oil subsidies, it's going to the companies, the corporations, the CEOs, and they're okay with that, but they're not okay when their neighbor gets money off. But, I think people don't really understand to what extent we subsidize the oil industry. I think that's
not transparent. Yeah.
It's not transparent. And people are like, well, it's always been that way, so it's okay. But this new thing with EVs, that's new. I don't like that. My neighbor just saved money and I didn't, and that's not fair. So it is what it is. Anyway.
Yeah. And we're all humans. We all can have that reaction to things like, things like that.
Don, before we take off, I just want to point out behind me, I have a new charger that I've been reviewing this week. The review will probably go up maybe over the weekend. I don't know. I'm not 100% done with it. If I have time for finishing up today, but it's a Wolf Box. It's called the Wolf Box WE50. It's a 50 amp smart charger, and pretty good unit. It's got some flaws, but pretty good unit. And that full review will be up on State of Charge within the next couple of days.
Wolf Box. I like the sound of it. I'm not sure if it beats a Grizzly, but it's in that animalistic category.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Okay. Well, I guess that brings us to the end of our show. Apologies for the late start. We'll be better and more together next week, I think. I'm here for the next few weeks, so fingers crossed everything will go smoothly and we'll synchronize our watches better. And yeah. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or get in touch with us on the social media platform of your choice. Don't forget, if you like the show, please give us some thumbs up, click subscribe, tap that bell icon for notifications. And thank you all very, very much for joining us. It's been great to be back and seeing y'all again today. And yeah, thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next week.
Dom, say ciao.
Ciao.